public interview of applicants for the position of Associate Justice of the Supreme Court vacated by Justice Martin S. Villarama Jr. is now open.
Your Honors, the candidates to be interviewed this morning are Court of Appeals Associate Justice Stephen C. Cruz, Solicitor General Florin T. Hilbay, Presiding Judge Reynaldo B. Daway of the RTC Branch 90, Quezon City, and Court of Appeals Associate Justice Mariflor P. Punsalan Castillo. May I request Solicitor General Hilbay, Presiding Judge Daway, and Associate Justice Castillo to stay in the holding room while the interview of Associate Justice Cruz is being conducted. Thank you very much, Your Honors. Cruz, please occupy a hot seat.
Good morning, Justice Cruz.
Take my seat.
Okay. I'm sure you are well ready for interview. So may I request now Attorney Cayosa to start the public interview.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Justice Cruz.
Good morning, Your Honor.
We have extensively interviewed you not too long ago, just in May of 2014, and I just have a few clarificatory questions. This is with regard to your sworn statement of assets and liabilities, because it appears that you have property in Lucena.
Yes, Your Honor.
You still have property in Lucena.
Yes, Your Honor. It's a family property.
Okay, because the records in the LRA show that this property has since been cancelled in your name.
It's been transferred to a family corporation. Some of it.
But you still declared it in your SALN?
I don't think so. I just declared properties in my name, if I remember it, Your Honor. All properties in the name of the family corporation.
So is this
I did not.
bungalow property in Lucena still?
Oh, yes, that's under our name, myself and my brother.
Okay. At any rate, it appears in the records of the LRA that this has been cancelled in your name, although we have no information to whom it was transferred.
I have to look into it.
At any rate, is there any significant development in your career as a jurist that you would want the JBC to be informed of, and that would help your application for position of associate justice?
The word significant is relative, Your Honor, and maybe to be safe or on the safe side, what happened since the last interview until now is that I had the opportunity, thanks to the Court of Appeals, to attend a seminar at Harvard University.
Yes, could you tell us something about this seminar?
It's a 2-day intensive course on negotiation, wherein participants are pitted against each other under a certain set of assumed facts. Then they allow you to negotiate and determine whether you could win your cause as against their cause. Basically, it's a set-up situation.
Is this some form of alternative dispute resolution, or?
Yeah, let me explain, Your Honor. It's not an alternative dispute resolution. It's a negotiation wherein you stand at equal footing with the other side of the table. You negotiate with him over a certain issue and win the most issues in your part. Like standard pay, or a price of a project. the other side would negotiate for a lower one, while you, the proponent, would negotiate for a higher pay. So you negotiate and give some, pull some.
Do you believe that this has some relevance to your duties as a member of the Court of Appeals? And if any significance, what would this be?
Yeah, it does. Although it's not direct, it gives you a very large window to ascertain certain issues that you would want to decide. You would not be limited inside the box, so to speak, but you look at it from outside the box.
On another point, may I just know, while we have a copy of the Judicial Records Division's tabulation of the cases that you have handled for the past 5 years,
Yes, Your Honor.
may I just know how many cases have been submitted for decision that have been assigned to you and that remain pending to this day?
To my knowledge, since the last time it was 35, my last interview, now it has ballooned to 50 to 60.
What do you attribute the ballooning to?
Quantity, Your Honor, of the cases filed.
To be candid, I had the opportunity to look at the records of the other aspirants from the Court of Appeals, and it appears that you do have the most number of cases submitted
Yes, Your
for
Honor.
decision among the aspirants. So what have you resolved to do about this?
I try to keep a target number and decide it without sacrificing quality. There are situations wherein you look at it that you would want quantity but sacrifice quality. For myself, I need to balance it, that the quantity must conform with the quality of decisions issued out. Thank you, Your Honor.
Justice, that was my last question, so with that I wish you luck. Thank
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Attorney Cayosa. May I now request Attorney Mejia to continue?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning po. You were admitted to the New York State Bar in 1982.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think I asked you the last time in your last interview whether you practiced in New York.
Yes, Your Honor. I tried to, but the practice there is quite different from ours.
Okay. My question really is, are we now open, or are you agreeable to the proposal that we now allow foreign lawyers to practice in the Philippines?
I would agree with that proposition because the Philippines is not, well, although it's an island, quote unquote, it's not an island. It attracts investors, and international law might come in. With foreign lawyers allowed on certain situations to practice here, can contribute to our legal system and jurisprudence. It can, in fact, open our eyes that we are not an island. We are global. Thank you, Your Honor.
Considering that you will have, I think 4 or 5 years, should you be considered for the position, what do you think will be your significant contributions to the agenda of the current Chief Justice?
As propounded by Justice Cayosa, there is quite a dearth of cases filed in our courts, and prime and foremost would be to unclog court dockets. How do you do that? One would be, I guess, I'm not alone in this cause, is to do a paperless practice in applicable procedure. The advent of computers will help us a lot. In fact, we could read to the iPads or computer screens or USB all the necessary pleadings as it is read on paper. And eliminating paper would hasten disposition of cases. Plus the fact, Your Honor, that we could save a lot of trees by not using papers.
Thank you. That was my final question. Good luck again.
Thank you, Your
Justice Cruz, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Attorney Mejia. I now call on Attorney Guevara.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Justice.
Good morning, Your Honor.
It's the first time that I will be interviewing you because this is the first time also that I am sitting in the JBC.
It's my pleasure, Your Honor.
Justice, in your opinion, what is the present image of the Supreme Court to the general public?
At present, the Supreme Court is flooded with election cases. Time is of the essence because elections are next year. People must be, the public must be cleared of gray areas like the qualification of Madam Po, Duterte, and who really would be the finalist in the quest for the presidency. The Supreme Court is tasked in accelerating these decisions. It depends upon us, members of the judiciary, to abide by the clamor of the public that they be cleared of the controversies besetting the Republic right now, qualifications of the candidates for the presidency, as soon as possible, Your Honor.
Considering your statement that the Supreme Court is flooded presently with election cases, do you think that the Supreme Court, in disposing of these election-related cases, have to factor in political considerations as well in rendering its resolutions?
I hope not. What the Supreme Court should factor in would be the general welfare of the people, not politics. With due respect, Your Honor.
Justice, from time to time, certain surveys are being made pertaining to trust ratings of key government officials, including the Chief Justice. In your opinion, does the trust rating of the Chief Justice reflect the level of trust of the people on the Supreme Court in general?
The ratings is a factor, but it is not the sole reason to determine a conclusion. The people, on the other hand, should be also open to other factors and then see it as a whole, not on a microscopic stance, but on a bird's eye view.
In your opinion, Justice, if the present trust rating of the Chief Justice, hypothetically, for example, is 25%, do you think that the people in general also carry or give a 25% trust rating on the Supreme Court?
Well, the ratings are really questionable. It's just what? Standards. It's not the true value So if I am one who reads that, I take it with a grain of salt.
Having said that, in your opinion, do you think that the trust of the people on the institution as a whole is higher than 25%?
I believe so, Your Honor. Our people or the citizens in general trust the judiciary, especially the Supreme Court.
Justice, in your application for this vacant position in the Supreme Court, do you have a personal agenda to bring?
The only personal agenda that I would think of is that every lawyer would want to be in the Supreme Court. That existed when he first enrolled in law school. One day, I'll be there with my career path on the line. It's one of the dreams, really, of a lawyer, Your Honor.
So it's really more the conclusion of a legal career that
Yes,
you have
Your
in
Honor.
mind.
It's a career path.
And you do not foresee yourself doing something else after retirement from the Supreme Court, assuming that you get appointed.
I would say that I'll cross the bridge when we get there, Your Honor.
So apart from putting, the biggest feather in your cup in your legal career, is there any specific innovation that you think you would make when you join the Supreme Court?
As I've said a while ago, one would be the judicial reforms, the paperless litigation or appellate practice.
Yes, I heard that.
Yes, Your Honor, that is the only thing.
Yeah.
Then there are others, but it needs refinement and further study. It's just off the bat. I have two in mind right now, but I am not really espousing it. It's just maybe the Supreme Court could toy on it and make a good thing out of it. Like one, the possibility of a creation of a constitutional court. I don't know the impact of it. Other countries have it. So why not us? Is it applicable to us? There are a lot of questions, but the idea of a constitutional court sticks to the mind. The other is, since there is a clog in the dockets, especially on appeals and appellate practice, why don't we toy with the idea of a limited appeal, wherein certain cases would be final at a certain stage and will only be brought to the Supreme Court on specific matters like national security, first impression, exceptional case, where it's to correct an unjust judgment like that, wherein the discretion to accept would be on the Supreme Court, not on the litigant filing the appeal. So basically it's a limited appeal procedure.
Your concept of a constitutional court, the one that you mentioned earlier, Supreme Court itself is a constitutional court.
I know that. It's
Yes, that's-
blended into it, Your Honor.
So what is this other constitutional court that you have in mind then?
Like what the word says, it only deals with limited jurisdiction.
Such as, for example, what?
Constitutionality of a law, ordinance, or regulation, like what you call this? Qualifications of members of Congress. I know the Supreme Court now is able to do it, and the need for it might not be really that bad. But as we go along the line and through the years, it could be a good discussion. Viability of a constitutional court, its members, powers, and jurisdiction. All I know is that it needs really a constitutional amendment or revision.
Justice, your idea about paperless pleadings and documents in court, do you think we're ready for that within the next 5 years?
Yes, I think so, Your Honor, because it's just the use of computers. Everything is there. In fact, the computers, or our computer age, made faxes not necessary. Telegrams are no longer necessary right now. Obsolete. I go along that line, Your Honor.
Will you agree with me that while technology is improving and making things faster, it's the ability of our judges and justices to cope up with these advances in technology that is the problem?
I think that's the least of the problem. It's just really teaching them how to use the computers.
How do you intend to do that, Justice? Teaching old
hands-on,
how to use computers.
Hands-on. I know one way or another, judges would operate a computer. They know how to. They just have, maybe they don't want to, but I know they know. I myself would. I'm doing it.
Should we make that a new qualification for appointment to the judiciary?
Computer literacy?
Yes.
It's a good suggestion. I would agree with that.
Thank you, Justice. I think my time is up.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you so much, Attorney Guevara. May I now request Justice Lagman to continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Justice Cruz. Justice Cruz, yes. As stated earlier, we have interviewed you several times, the last time of which was on May 30, 2014.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, I don't have so much question for you except this one. Justice Cruz, what do you consider as your most significant achievement as a member of the Court of Appeals, which would give you an edge or advantage over the other members of the court who are also applying for the same position in the Supreme Court?
There is no outstanding or significant on the upper degree to speak of, Your Honor. I am an ordinary person. I study my lesson. I pray to God, and I consider myself among equals, Your Honor.
Yes.
That's all, Your Honor.
So, this is a question, Twitter question, no? Which we received from the Twitter. This is not my question. Does greater transparency in the judiciary, including its budget, compromise the court's independence?
I don't think so. Those matters are really open to the public. The budget, how we decide cases, it's open. It's not a secret. We are not in Mount Olympus and only us see ourselves. People has the right to know how we do things, so long as we maintain our independent discretion on how to decide a case based on law.
Okay. On that note, I have no further question for Justice Cruz. Good luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Justice Lagman. Good morning,
Good morning,
Justice Cruz.
Good morning po.
The first question is, have you written or rendered a decision or decisions which reached the Supreme Court and eventually became landmark decision or decisions published in the newspapers?
Offhand, I can't think of anything, Your Honor. I do my job deciding cases in accordance to law, and if it's accordance to law, it's a normal thing to do. No highfalutin decisions whatsoever, Your Honor.
No constitutional issues.
None, Your Honor.
Okay. And next question is follow-up question of Attorney Mejia. According to you, foreign lawyers should be allowed to practice here in the Philippines. And I think it must be symbiotic. Filipino lawyers should also be allowed in foreign countries. Don't you think
Yes,
so?
reciprocity, Your Honor.
Yes, that's it.
Maybe may I add to it, the foreign lawyers could also practice in our courts pro hac vice for that purpose only, not as a general practitioner.
Unless, of course, they pass the bar here.
Yes, of course, Your Honor.
Anyway, you stated a while ago that your purpose, primarily in aiming for a seat in the Supreme Court, is to enhance your career because that has been your dream as a lawyer to reach the Supreme Court. Don't you think that the primary reason should be public service? Career should be number 2.
Your Honor, choosing a path or a career path is relative when I chose, or all of us lawyers chose, the judiciary. That's the public service. It's a career also, Your Honor, along with...
Career is different from public service. So my question is, which will go first and which will go second? According to you, it's the same?
Yes, Your Honor. It depends upon if you practice private law or privately. Public service takes a backseat ride because you're practicing law. But when you join the judiciary, public service through the judiciary takes a front seat ride, Your Honor.
So public service connotes,
Yes, Your Honor.
success in your judicial career connotes public service.
Yes, Your Honor, because,
but I still think that number 1 priority should be public service, and then number 2 is your career. Anyway,
I submit,
that's your
Your Honor.
opinion.
I submit,
This is
Your
my
Honor.
opinion. Anyway, a while ago, you said that you establishing or creating a constitutional court in the Philippines will somehow really lessen the load of the Supreme Court, and I agree very well. Because when I was still in the Supreme Court, that's been a topic among justices there many times. Although it requires amendment of the Constitution. And then several justices said that a retired Chief Justice should be appointed as Chief Justice of the Constitutional Court. And we have countries, who have these constitutional courts, especially Egypt.
Yes, sir.
And they explained to us that, in fact, there are more constitutional cases than regular cases. So your recommendation is really well taken, and I hope you can write Congress so that when they propose amendment of Constitution, that will be included. Let us talk of
Thank you.
transparency. When this issue of transparency came about, that was the time that the Supreme Court justices allowed their sal-ends to be examined. If you remember before, there was a resolution by the Supreme Court prohibiting anyone to look into the sal-end of any justice because the reason is obvious.
They may conduct a fishing expedition.
Precisely. But because of this principle of transparency, all sal-ends now of the justices are open. And one of the questions there is, how about deliberation of the justices in division or in imbang? There is no transparency. What is your view about this? Should there be transparency when they deliberate, especially in bank? Should there be transparency when they deliberate in the division?
When you deliberate, you are nearing the decision stage of a case. In fact, one would know which justice or how that justice would decide the case. And it will be just finding out the numbers that could preempt the integrity of the decision. So, for that reason, I would not be favorable for deliberations to be transparent, Your Honor.
I agree with you, Justice. In fact, there should be no transparency because during the deliberations, the justices will be participating. The public will know how they vote. The public will know easily, readily, which party will win or lose. So, despite the clamor among several sectors during my time, our answer was transparency cannot be granted during or allowed during the deliberation in the in-bank and even in the division. Concerning the budget of the Supreme Court, I also agree with you that it is transparent. Anybody can inspect our financial conditions here because many said that the Supreme Court is hiding the JDF. Judiciary Development Funds. And what are these funds? These are the earnings of the courts, especially the trial courts, especially docket fees, and all the income derived from the trial courts, lower courts, and including the Supreme Court. But I think in fact, one of the Congressman Fariñas, wanted to abolish our JDF. Do you think it should be abolished? Why do we have JDF in the first place?
I don't think it should be abolished, Your Honor, because it's a source of funding for our budget, which is really that low. As
Even 1%.
As compared to the other separate powers, the judiciary and compared to the executive and legislative, the judiciary is the least or the poorest of them all. We should be commended that we are looking ways and means to source funds independent of the budget, because ours is really that low and we cannot cope up, especially with the salaries of judges and justices, Your Honor. So we fend for ourselves, and that is I find
and sadly, that is the reason why Congress cannot give the judiciary, higher budget, because they always said we have this JDF. And according to Congressman Fariñas, they will repeal PD 1954, the source of our JDF, 20% of which is for the construction and repair of our courthouses, 80% to augment the salaries of justices, judges, and the personnel. Do you think Congress can repeal that?
Well, if it's a law enacted by them, I guess they can repeal it, Your Honor, if they really want to. But getting the votes is another thing than proposing.
Supposing
repeal.
they get the votes, can they repeal PD 1954?
I think so, Your Honor. It's a law.
And what will happen to the new law when it reaches the Supreme Court?
Yes, Your Honor.
So our JDF will stay forever.
I see your point.
Anyway, the warning is there. So thank you very much, Justice. Good luck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to leave, Your Honor.